So a couple days ago, Apple announced this super cool feature where they used an iPhone and they connected it up to a MacBook, and they were able to create this top-down image using the ultra-wide camera on this phone. So in the demo, they have a phone mounted on top of an Apple Pro Display XDR, and according to Apple, the image would look something like this, a top-down shot of the desk space in front of you, captured from the ultra-wide camera of that phone. And that image looks very impressive. And I think a lot of people that saw it were like, that is super cool. But it's like, is that actually how good it would look? Like, that looks almost too good to be true. And then they followed up with this image, which looks even more impossible, where they have the phone mounted onto a MacBook, which is a shorter device, so it's closer to the table. And in that picture, it's tilted back a little bit. So it's an even steeper angle for the camera to pull off this trick. And now it has to process this heavily distorted image in real time to be able to create this video feed of this top-down looking shot. And I thought, as impressive as this stuff is, like, there's no way, right? There's no way it can possibly look as good as the media images. Well, there's a way to test this because Apple allows their developers to test their upcoming software features. So I downloaded the new Xcode beta, I downloaded iOS 16 and the macOS 13, and I compiled their continuity camera app to test this myself. And oh my God, there's a lot to talk about. So first, I don't have that fancy mount that you see in the media photos because it doesn't exist yet. So instead, I decided to use duct tape. And who's even gonna buy that mount when it can look like this with a little bit of work, right? Okay, so desk view in continuity camera looks really good, but there's a few things I noticed. First, your hands and fingers can look really weird when they come into the shot. Like sometimes it looks like a bunch of sausages, but it also works best when you just have a flat object or surface that you're trying to show. So if you're writing on a piece of paper, that can look really good. Or if you're doing some kind of card tricks, that can work really well. Anything that's flat will look like a legitimate overhead camera shot. But if there's any height to the object, that's when things can look a little whack. Like this book here, it's not a particularly tall book, but when I bring it into the scene, like you can't even see the top of the book. You can only see the spine in the shot. Like the top of the book, it's invisible. Like you gotta bring it all the way in. You know what? You can never see the top of the book. Well, there. Like when it's on the computer, like it's a really steep angle. It's got a good algorithm. Like my fingers don't look too weird, right? But it's gotta be a flat object. The flatter, the better. Another thing I noticed is that this top-down desk view works best when the phone is mounted in a portrait position, like a vertical position. So I taped it to the back of this device in like the landscape horizontal mode, and it works, but you get a way bigger field of view when it's portrait. And the reason being, I think, is that that's just the way the sensors work, right? The sensor inside a camera is a rectangle when it's in that upright position, because you do get a pretty serious sensor crop. When it's in this landscape mode, it's a nice wide shot. The last thing I noticed is image quality. So in this kind of desk view mode, the image isn't great. It's like a cool looking image in terms of like the technology behind it, but it's like low res, and the colors aren't great. And same thing with center stage. When you have that enabled and it's got that cool face tracking thing and you can move around and it'll track your face, very cool, but the image quality is reduced compared to when you turn off center stage and instead of using the ultra wide, because all of that stuff uses the ultra wide lens, when you turn it off, it switches over to the main sensor, but you gotta tilt it up. But look at the image quality. Oh my God, like look at that. This is amazing for a webcam. I mean, it's not really a webcam, it's a phone that's stuck to a computer that's serving as a webcam, but like look at the image quality here and you compare it to any other traditional webcam. I don't even know which one I'm looking at. Okay, it's this one, it's the top left one. That's the main sensor. But like, look at the image quality on this. This is phenomenal for a webcam-like experience. Now there's also a portrait mode and a studio light mode that's already functional in this beta, and I'll just enable it real quick. The portrait mode, it gives you like a bokeh, like in the back of your shot, like it'll just blur it out. It's still pretty artificial looking to me, but I don't know if that's your jam. But there's also the studio light mode. So this is actually really neat. It's good for kind of poor lighting conditions, whether it's dark everywhere or really bright in the background. It'll just illuminate your face in a manner, just make it a better shot. Like if I turn it off real quick here. I mean, this studio is so well lit that it doesn't make that much of a difference visually, but if you turn off the portrait mode, you turn off that bokeh and you put on the studio light, that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat. But it's most noticeable when you have a really bright background behind you, like let's say you're like against a window, or if you're like outdoors and there's like bright light behind you. Normally your face is underexposed, right? Because it's so bright up there and it's having a tough time capturing your face properly, like the camera. You hit on studio light, it'll illuminate your face and it does a good job. Now I think as early as this is, like this is, I don't know, day 2 of the beta, like they've done a fantastic job with this whole thing. So there you have it, continuity camera with desk view. It really does work the way that Apple said it would. You just gotta use flat objects, because if you don't, and you're using something big like 2 thumbs up, it just looks a little weird.